Hey there fellow Planeswalkers, I'm Justice, aka Gatewatcher, and this video is brought to you by viewers like you, so please drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and check out my Patreon for additional content. You can also help by shopping my online merch store on Threadless. Thanks for your support. Alright, let's get into it. For these budget deck tech episodes, I follow a few rules. I'm building these decks for under $30 using Scryfall pricing. This cost excludes the Oathbreaker itself if it costs over $5, and this cost excludes basic lands. I assume you already own those. I build these decks using the 6x6 method, meaning 6 cards for 6 strategies to make the deck work. As I'm explaining the cards, I'll also be explaining how to pilot the deck and how to win with it. Entering his own sanctum today is Jace Beleren from Lorwyn. Jace has a riddled history. As much as his key abilities come from memory powers, he has wiped other people's memories and has had his own memory wiped several times. After sparking and planeswalking to Ravnica, he was adopted by the Gruul, who gave him his facial tattoos. He worked his way up to wealth through blackmailing others, mind-reading their dirty secrets. While on Ravnica, he was aggressively invited to join the Infinite Consortium, an organization that could procure any item desired, even those from other planes. During this time, he developed his skills under Tezzeret, and at one point was used as a mental arbiter between Nicol Bolas and Tezzeret on an Arctic plane. He attempted to ensure Bolas wasn't mind-probing Tezzeret, but he failed at his job, resulting in him losing a toe to Frostbite and Tezzeret savagely beating him for failing. Jace eventually fought Tezzeret, mind-wiping him clean, and took over as leader of Ravnica's Infinite Consortium. Jace Beleren is a 3-drop planeswalker with several card draw abilities. His +2 draws everyone a card, his -1 only draws us a card, and his -10 attempts to mind-wipe an opponent, forcing them to mill 20 cards from their library. Playing mono blue is a difficult endeavor. This deck will focus on locking opponents out of the game and winning through attrition. The signature spell paired is Drain Power, last seen in 5th edition. This spell forces an opponent to tap all their lands, and we gain the mana from it. This can be a powerful political tool, as this deck's strongest lock is Winter Orb. Let's get into how all this works with Strategy 1, Winter is Coming. Corridor Monitor and Chief of the Foundry are primarily blockers that we can use at the start of the game. The deck utilizes a lot of artifact creatures, so these synergize well. Fall from Favor can freeze up any opponent's creature that's causing early issues, and grants us Monarch, which will be important later. Tribute Mage and Reshape are our 2 tutors in this deck. The primary targets are all 2 mana, and they lead to our main target. Winter Orb is the most expensive card in this deck, taking up near 30% of the budget, but for good reason. Winter Orb makes it that only 1 land is able to tap on each untap step, which seriously prohibits other players' game plans. Several of the lands in this deck tap for more than 1 mana, so we're built with this detriment in mind. With Winter Orb out, let's see how our game plan goes with Strategy 2, Surviving Winter. Court of Cunning is a primary win con. As long as we hold this position of Monarch, we can mill each opponent for 10 at the start of our turn, meaning that in under 5 turns, we'll win the game by destroying everyone's library. Jace Beleren is useful as his +2 draws everyone a card, meaning he won't be much of a target as he helps everyone dig for answers. Psychosis Crawler, however, can use that card draw for hurt. Every time we draw a card, our opponent loses 1 life. With Jace, Monarch, and our regular draw phase, this means we'll be dealing 3 damage each turn. Crystalline Giant and Steel Overseer benefit greatly with a slower game, each turn adding counters. The longer they stay in play, the stronger our board gets. Drain Power is our signature spell, and a particularly brutal one with Winter Orb on the field. For 2 mana, we force another player to tap all their lands, and we gain that mana. This incentivizes players to play smaller things and not stockpile their resources. If anyone gets too high of a land count, we can cast this to strike them down and use the mana for our own gain. With Winter Orb in play, we do need to be able to cast our bigger things, so let's check out Strategy 3, Artificial Mana. Silvermer, Palladiumer, and Hedron Crawler are all artifact creatures that tap for mana. Winter Orb only affects lands, so these sources will always refresh. Apprentice Wizard and Renowned Weaponsmith work similar, but are blue creatures instead of artifacts. The last mana ramper is Sky Diamond. It taps for a blue mana, and since it's not a creature, can be more difficult to remove, giving us a reliable mana source. We aren't stopping there though. We have other ways to cast big things with Strategy 4, Efficient Engineering. Mask of the Mimic and Retraced Image both utilize the artifact Spike Hit. Spike Hit, when equipped, gives all creatures all names of other creatures, meaning we can use Mask of the Mimic to tutor out any creature from our library, or use Retraced Image to freely cast a creature from our hand. Retraced Image can also be used as a sort of ramp card, where we can name Island to play an additional land for the turn. Chief Engineer and Ethereum Sculptor help to cast artifacts, utilizing our current board state and cheapening artifacts' cost. The more buildup of a board we have, the better to outlast our opponents. Grand Architect is our final card in this strategy. It bolsters all of our other blue creatures, and we can tap them to add 2 generic mana to our mana pool, and additionally turn our artifact creatures into blue creatures. With this creature on the field, we should hardly feel the effects of Winter Orb. With all of this artificial mana, let's see what it will be used for in Strategy 5, Built to Win. Sharding Sphinx, Inkwell Leviathan, and Myr Battlesphere are all brutal in their own ways. If any of them are on the battlefield, our opponents are on a tight clock to deal with them. Sharding Sphinx and Myr Battlesphere can keep our army growing, and Inkwell Leviathan is purely difficult to deal with due to its keywords Shroud and Flying. Ventress Gargoyle and Relic Golem are smaller mana costs, but still effective beaters if we can get them to turn on. An opponent's graveyard needs to be relatively filled in order to attack, but once they can dish out plenty of damage. Master of Ethereum is a proper artifact lord. Master of Ethereum is a powerful artifact lord. It gets stronger the more artifacts we have, and also makes our artifact creatures 1 power and toughness stronger. With these powerful finishers, we don't always need Winter Orb in play to be able to win, but restricting others' mana makes it that much easier. Let's see our final lineup of cards we'll be using to brush off anything our opponents do with Strategy 6, Outside Influence. Expel from Araska, Disperse, and Echoing Truth are all effective permanent bouncers to whatever stands in our way. Echoing Truth also makes for an interesting combination with Spy Kit. Use with caution. Runaway Together and Aether Spellbomb are creature-specific bouncers for anything too threatening to our artifact army. Bladegriff Prototype is our last removal piece that works with our opponents. Whenever we deal combat damage with it, the player it dealt that damage to chooses a non-land permanent that we don't control and destroys it. Since this creature is a flyer, we'll most often be able to find an opponent that can land the damage on, making this card steady removal. Now that we've seen this ice-cold deck, let's check out the final price. Winter Orb is our most expensive card, and oddly enough, one of our lands, Lotus Field, comes in second place. Those 2 cards and our Oathbreaker make up 50% of the budget, putting this deck at $29.64. That's all for this episode. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Stax decks. What win cons would you pursue in a mono blue deck? As always, if you're not quite ready to planeswalk away, check out my Patreon, where you can get access to my Discord server where we talk and play Magic, as well as get other awesome benefits. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.